Ms. Robinson, I want to follow up by trying to understand your answer to one of Senator Cruz's questions. And this is really a question, not a suggestion. Do I understand your position to be that there are two sexes, but there can be more than two genders?
I wouldn't even say two, and we've got Dr. Lopez here as well, but there's also the definition of intersex. I think that often in these conversations we're conflating sex and gender, and I do want to affirm here that trans women are women. That is their gender.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand. Do you make a distinction between sex and gender?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain that. Do you think there are more than two sexes?
I believe that there's a definition for intersex as well that I want to acknowledge. But sex is assigned at birth.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm thoroughly confused. So you're born, I'm talking about biology, male, female, and what else?
I believe that intersex is also acknowledged.
Intersex.
But again, I'm not a doctor here. What I can
And what does intersex mean?
is that there's a difference between sex and gender. And I think in these conversations, we're conflating the two.
Well, but I want to start with sex, okay? There's male, there's female. When a baby's born, before the baby has had time to even have a sense of self, there's male, female, and intersex. There's a third sex.
I believe that is true, but I would defer to Dr. Lopez as I'm not a physician.
Okay. And how many genders are there?
I think the gender is expansive and the definitions are always growing. Today I can tell you,
More
I talk
than
to young
five?
people
More
that
than-
talk about non-binary as
More than five?
I think the gender is not a binary is what I'm trying
But
to say.
are there more than five genders? I'm just trying to understand. Are there more than five genders?
Well, I think that there was a time where women wearing pants didn't feel like it was appropriate for their gender, and yet I'm wearing pants today.
If
I
you
think
could
that there are
just
ways
answer
that
my
we
question.
express
Are
our
there
gender.
Well, 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 what do we have here? This witness in Congress or at the Senate hearings in front of Senator Kennedy is espousing what? The dogma, the creed, the gospel. From where? The Church of Transgenderism, the cult that we know is transgenderism. And she actually said to Senator Kennedy, she equated the wearing of pants could be thought of as being gender as well. Because you wear a pair of pants, you can call yourself a gender. Amazing, folks. Like I said, this is an ideology, but it is a religious doctrine to these people. This is their gospel truth that they truly believe in. How many times does Senator Kennedy have to go ask her, just explain to me the difference between sex and gender? How many sexes are there? Male and female. I love Senator Kennedy's accent, by the way. His drawl, Southern drawl. And then she keeps talking about intersex. Intersex is not a sex. Intersex is a distinction within the sexes, within the two sexes of male and female, that you're really not sure they're born with both. And whichever one shows the predominant characteristics is usually the one in which the parents are going to make the decision to have the child be the sex that is probably more dominant, the more dominant trait than the trait that is less dominant. And there are distinctions within that, but it is a category within those two. It is not a separate category, but these people like to throw it out there to confuse the issue and make their point that there's more than male and female. Anyways, folks, we're going to get to more of this testimony, but before we do, we just want to let you know you're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir, and this is what we have on tap for you today, folks. More of these types of videos that just actually show that the world is literally turned upside down, where I give you my political prescription from my political perspective of what happens when you got social media, religion, science, biology, politics, and they all come crashing into each other. Let's go more of the testimony right now.
Are there more than 5?
I wouldn't subject myself to naming how many genders there are, but what I can say is
there
that
an
gender is a
infinite
reflection.
number?
Excuse me?
There's an infinite number of genders?
I think depending on your culture, there are a lot of different genders that exist. And I can also say that it's a term that's evolving. If you look at young people today, they really don't lean into the binary of only woman and man. So I think that it's incumbent upon us not to legislate on this, but create space for them to explore what their identities are, what their gender identities are.
Exploring. Let's
Let's get
explore
back to
ourselves.
athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are 3 sexes: male, female, and intersex.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And
so
there are an infinite number of
She believes that to be true, but again, sir, I'm not a physician. I can't really comment on that. But I can comment on the fact that I'm not, qualified to talk about genders. But it's ever evolving, those gender topics. I mean, they're just changing all the time because our kids keep coming up with new phrases and new words to define them. So we shouldn't legislate against that. We should just let them explore their bodies, explore the adjectives that they're using.
genders, because gender is a mental state.
gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your gender.
Okay, so there's infinite number. All right, let's go back to the biology. Male, female, boy, girl. Okay, biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician, and I can't speak to that.
What's your real world experience?
Oh, I'm not a physician. I can't speak to that. I'm just too stupid to answer that question. You don't have to be a doctor to understand that question, but they duck these questions on purpose because they know if they answer it, their whole worldview, that viewpoint, that cult, that dogma, that gospel just literally crumbles into dust. And they know it, and that's why they will never answer this question. Never.
It depends. I mean, there are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males that are taller than some women, and some that are
You don't
shorter.
believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience?
Oh, that's so stupid. That has been debunked so many freaking times. Serena Williams, she came on one of the Tonight shows. I don't know if it was Jimmy Fallon or with one of the others. And she actually said Andy Murray would beat me 6-love, 5 minutes, maybe 10. And she goes, I have no intention of playing against the men. It is a completely different game. They're faster, they're stronger, they're better, they serve better, they volley better, they hit better, they do everything better. They're better conditioned, they're better musculature, they have better bodies, they have better everything. She goes, I am perfectly fine playing with the women, being secondary to men in sports. You can look that up. You can watch it on Google. You can take it for yourself. This lady is absolutely lying through her teeth about this.
It's been male, female.
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay. I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I think you lose a lot of credibility.
Yes.
When you don't concede that a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. I mean, I just think that's a proven fact, and you really hurt your credibility. I understand you want the world to be a better place. I do too. And I don't think people ought to be discriminated against because of an immutable characteristic. I don't. And I think that I think everybody ought to be free to be themselves. And what you do in your bedroom or what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult is nobody's business. But if what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult, if I decide I want to tell somebody's child about it, then other people have rights too. And I think parents have rights. And I think biological females have rights.
Yes.
To be able to compete fairly in sport in sports. So I really think you hurt your credibility when you refuse to acknowledge that biological males have an advantage over biological females. It kind of makes
You go, Senator, you go. Literally, the velvet glove to that witness. He just literally spanked that witness with the velvet glove.
me wonder about all your testimony. Thank you,
Senator
Mr. Chairman.
Kennedy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is that there's a definitive advantage in all cases. Sir, I don't know if you believe that you could beat Serena Williams in tennis, but I probably think that that's not the case. There are not all cases where all men are physically superior to all women. And at the end of the day, in this conversation, we're not talking about that. We're talking about trans women who are, in fact, women, who deserve to play in a gender that matches their sports, who deserve all the benefits that Ms. Gaines is talking about. And as a cisgender black woman, I can say definitively that my womanhood is not threatened by a transgender person asserting hers as well.
You know why it's not asserting anything? These people are part of the acronym that I've coined, which is called SIMR. SIMR. It stands for stupid, idiotic, moronic retards. Stupid, idiotic, moronic retards. And they just simmer in it. They stew in it. They stew in their leftist ideology. They stew in their cult of climatology. They stew in their church of transgenderism. It's like a pot, basically. They just throw everything inside. They let it heat up. And they just come out of it seething because they're not getting their way, or they want to force their way onto everybody else. This lady, she just asked Senator Kennedy the stupidest asked question in the world that you could basically ask. And say that, well, Senator Kennedy, I don't think that you as a man are going to beat Serena Williams. Listen, if I played against Serena Williams in tennis, and I played pretty good before in high school and college, I probably would lose to her because we're not at that same elite level. And just like when he asked that question, how many women are in the NBA? How many women play in the NFL? How many women are in Major League Baseball? How many women are in Major League Hockey? How many women play soccer with the men? How many? How many, I would ask, at that same athletic level that we're talking about? Riley Gaines just testified there, said that her husband, who isn't really ranked as high as she was, could beat her butt in swimming any day of the freaking week, 24/7. But they were both elite swimmers. She, on the women's side, was at the top of the elite. He was basically middle of the pack or below. But they were both in that same sports, in the same sports realm. So again, these people, they bring these arguments out of left field that have absolutely nothing to do with the conversation, nothing to do. And they think they're oh so smart when they do that. And then she says, my cis black womanhood is not threatened by these trans women. I bet you it would be if they decide to come after whatever job you're in and decide to take that. But see, you're not in sports. You don't have anything to worry about because it's the other people out there that it's affecting. You can stand on your high horse and be your virtue signaling woke social justice warrior and basically be saying that. And everybody goes, wow, that woman right there, 4 eyes. Oh my goodness. She is so much for everybody out there. She's for equality. She's for opportunity. She's just, oh my goodness, she's just there for everybody. Let's just give everybody a nice little hugsy wugsy. Idiot. Anyways, folks, we appreciate the time that you've taken to watch it. We know there's so much stuff out there. We appreciate you coming to our channel and watching. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host, Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, we'd love you to subscribe to our channel if we've earned it. Like, share, and follow us. You know what to do. Leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.